Welcome, Sagittarius, to your in-depth weekly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for week commencing the 2nd of March for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. Going to share with you, first of all, the big themes of the week. On screen is the event chart. I'll then unpack that on Monday. It always provides an influential backdrop for the whole 7 days. I'll then go through each of the influences frame by frame to give you a clear picture of what you can expect in terms of relationships, energy, finance, and work. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, please do so now and help it to continue to thrive. As we come into this week, Mars is preparing to move into the water sign of Pisces. It goes there later on Monday, and it will be there for 6 weeks. That's a big change. I will share all about that for you. But on Tuesday, we have a total lunar eclipse in the practical sign of Virgo, which is going to have quite the impact on us all collectively for the next 6 months. How will it impact on your zodiac sign? At the heart of the week, your ruler, Jupiter, can bring a real slice of serendipity, but just how will it do that and in what area? By the end of the week, Venus, the relator, but also the planet of money, moves into your sister fire sign of Aries, initially meeting the mysterious Neptune, but then coming into contact with the cool Saturn. What's the implications? On the screen now is your event chart, and we can see there's Mars preparing to move into the sign of Pisces, but it did last Friday reach an exact square with Uranus. A 3-6 angle can see us trying to be very productive, even perhaps being virtuous, but with Uranus being a very electric, over arousing influence, and Mars in the third house, a somewhat impatient one. If you have felt a little bit stressed over the weekend or exhausted or frustrated, it wouldn't be a surprise. But early on Monday, the moon in your fellow fire sign joins in with that separating square. And I think that because Mars and the moon are in communicational parts of your scope, anything to do with routines or work which isn't quite flowing quite so could really see you somewhat on edge. Also, Mercury in the sign of Pisces, not its best location, it's in your fourth house. Mercury in the fourth house just don't chime. Mercury likes clarity, and the water sign of Pisces is where Mercury is detrimented. So if there's something sensitive that you're processing at the moment, it may actually be a little harder to actually say how you feel. That could add to that sense of frustration as well. Now, despite the fact that Mars and Uranus are still agitating early on Monday, Venus and Uranus are actually on really good terms. If there's something you enjoy doing from the comfort of your home, it may be crafting or making, creating, and it is something that you find very engaging, that could give you a lot of pleasure this week. But also, if you connect to someone who is interested in that as well, that can also be something that's very lovely. Now, on Mars moving into that fourth house, it's going to be there for 6 weeks. To be honest, Mars in the fourth house can be a little bit up and down. It's an emotional area. Mars can get a bit frustrated here and a bit defensive. So that's something you need to be aware of. But what Mars can bring is thrust. So if there's anything physical you want to change to where you live, perhaps moving altogether, whether it's rearranging the home, refitting it in some ways, redecorating, all of those things can take on a greater urgency, and that's a positive thing. Now, at the heart of the week, I did mention that Jupiter comes into play, but it also features in the total lunar eclipse, which occurs on Tuesday. So the moon moves forwards to 12 degrees, the sun moves forwards, they're in opposition. What will that total lunar eclipse mean over the next half year? Well, because Jupiter's in the mix, if you're wanting to raise your profile, I feel you can convert your talent into improvements with your income. The trick, however, with the moon being in that 10th house is that you feel satisfied in terms of the emotional dimension of your connection to the world. So if you have a job and you are successful, you're well paid, but you don't particularly like the location, the atmosphere, your colleagues, that may be something you become much more conscious of. But you are being asked by the practicality of the Virgo moon to take care of the details. Sometimes details can be a bit boring to Sagittarians, but if you can just be conscious of your professional connection and making sure everything is running as virtuously as possible, but also it feels right, you will use that total lunar eclipse in a much more productive way. Because Jupiter supports it, I feel that it could be good for you financially. If you're wanting to make changes to where you live or move altogether, as the Sun moves forwards and links in a trine to Jupiter, that's one of astrology's most fortunate influences. It could be good news if you've applied for a property, through a housing scheme, a rental, or perhaps you're looking to buy somewhere. That can be a very good portent of a dynamic change. But by Friday, Venus moves forwards, combines initially with Neptune. Now, if Saturn wasn't there, that would be hugely inspirational for your creative talent. But because Saturn is there, you have to show the structure, but also the hard work to convert any flair you've got into something that has some kind of uh, definable value, which is what Saturn looks for. But around your love life, Venus combining with Saturn can bring some cool energy. It may seem that a partner's a bit distracted, or if you have children, maybe you could feel a little bit less well regarded to them. Things generally can be a little tense. But I don't want you to think because Venus connects to Saturn that your romantic relationship will fail. It is a serious aspect, particularly because of this fourth house energy. And of course, Saturn was in your fourth house for a couple of years. So it really was teaching you to be more in touch with your sensitivities, emotion, your vulnerabilities, and not be hung up about them. So Saturn taught you a lot. So Venus coming onto this just suggests that if you are looking to connect to someone and there is someone on your celestial horizon that you are attracted to, not only must it feel right and you feel comfortable with them and have a good emotional rapport, you'll want them to be committed, I feel. If you're serious about romance, you need the other person to be serious too. Now, if you're wanting to be more of a free spirit, it's possible that you could encounter someone who resists your overtures if you're looking for more of a transactional assignation. So a little bit of coolness, but it doesn't have to be terminal. It just depends on the exact circumstances. To understand what the rest of March holds for you, Sagittarius, you can click on the video on screen for your deep dive monthly. To understand what the next 6 months holds for you in detail on that lunar eclipse, please click on the other video for that. And if you would like to have a one-to-one with me, please check out my testimonials below. You can also take advantage of my unique offer of your personal forecast and life roadmap report, totally unique to you. And at the checkout, please apply Astro 26 and you'll get 50% off. If you'd like to understand more about the draconic version of those charts, very much to do with your soul karmic journey, please apply Draco 26 at the checkout.